Everyone laughed when he married her. 16 months later, they all regretted it. Everyone laughed when Thomas Weaver married her. The fat, ugly, black girl. That's what they called her. 16 months later. None of them were laughing anymore. Thomas Weaver wasn't a man who cared much for attention. In his mid-30s, with red hair, glasses, and a gentle smile, he lived a quiet life. A respected software architect, he had a steady income, a cozy home, and a loyal handful of friends. He wasn't flashy, but he was kind. And maybe that's exactly why his life began to change the day he met Monique Carter. IT was at a small book signing. Thomas sat 2 rows behind her, quietly sipping coffee. But it was her voice that broke through the buzz of conversation. Confident, passionate, asking deep questions about representation and community. He didn't notice her size or skin tone. He noticed her fire. She had deep brown skin, wide hips, and wore her natural afro like a crown. Her laugh was bold, infectious. She carried herself like a woman who had already faced the world's worst opinions and decided not to care. After the event, Thomas approached her nervously. "I really liked your question," he said. Monique glanced at him, surprised. "Thanks. Not many people say that. I mean it. You made me think." She smiled. And that was it. What started as texts turned into evening walks. What began as coffee dates turned into Sunday breakfasts at the diner. Monique was a social worker, a fierce advocate for youth, justice, and truth. She was raw, real, and refused to shrink herself to fit into anyone else's comfort zone. Thomas fell. Hard, but others didn't understand. At a friend's birthday dinner, 4 smiles greeted them. "Is this a joke?" Someone whispered behind their backs. "She's got more belly than personality." Another laughed. Even at work, his colleagues mocked her. "Bet she's got a great personality." One smirked. Thomas didn't laugh. He just stared until the joke stopped. His own parents were hesitant. His mother pulled him aside. "Are you sure you're happy?" "I'm in love," Thomas said simply, and he never once asked Monique to change. Not her hair, her weight, or her voice. When he proposed, it wasn't flashy. Just a quiet morning, pancakes, coffee, and a Louis Armstrong record playing softly in the background. She cried as she said yes. Their wedding was small, just a park, falling autumn leaves, and people who truly mattered. Thomas wore a brown tux. Monique, in an elegant white gown and silver belt, walked beside him with quiet pride. But even that sacred day wasn't safe that a photo of them went viral. Not for love, but ridicule. When your standards hit rock bottom, someone captioned it, and the world laughed. Social media exploded. Strangers called Monique everything from a walking mattress to a human joke. Late-night shows mocked them. Even memes spread like wildfire. Monique sat in silence that night, tears rolling down her face as she scrolled. "I knew they wouldn't understand," she whispered, "but I didn't think they'd humiliate us." Thomas knelt beside her. "They laugh because they've never been brave enough to love someone real," he said. She had been passed over, mocked, unseen. She never dreamed she'd wear a wedding dress. But there she was, married to a man who saw her before the world ever did. He made her cocoa, wrapped her in blankets, played their wedding video on mute, just them dancing beneath trees. "No one can take this from us," he whispered. But they didn't hide. They didn't retreat. The next morning, Thomas said, "We won't fight with words. We'll fight by building something undeniable." They launched a nonprofit, The Heart of Worth, focused on marginalized youth, providing education, health, and business opportunities. Thomas handled the back end. Monique led the mission, and privately, she began a journey of her own. She didn't go to the gym to fit in. She went to reclaim her power in flashy posts. No public announcements, just quiet discipline. Day after day, about a year later, she had lost 85 pounds. Not for them, for her. At a black tie gala, Monique walked in wearing a sleek maroon dress, hair straightened, posture proud. A donor turned to Thomas and asked, "New partner?" Thomas smiled. "That's my wife." The room gasped as she stepped into view that a reporter later asked if the weight loss was to prove the world wrong. She smiled. "No. I just learned to speak in a language shallow people understand." Her TEDx talk, What They Didn't See, went viral. Her memoir, Worthy Anyway, became a bestseller. Suddenly, the same media outlets that mocked her were begging for interviews. One day at the grocery store, an old classmate stopped her. "I didn't recognize you." "You look amazing," Monique replied. "I looked amazing the day I married him, too." Even Thomas's parents changed. They sat in the front row when she accepted her Humanitarian of the Year award. His mother cried. His father whispered, "You made our son a better man." Monique smiled, and he helped me see myself again. That once viral wedding photo, now framed in the National Museum of Social Justice under a new caption. The world laughed, but they built a legacy. When people asked, "Where did you find your strength?" Monique answered simply, "I didn't find it. I stopped hiding it." At a graduation speech, she told students, "They said I was too big, too loud, too black. Still, I was loved. Still, I made room at tables not built for me. Now, I build the tables." And at home, they still made pancakes, still danced in the kitchen. Only now, when they walked outside, people stared, not in mockery, but admiration. At a university Q&A, a student asked, "Do you ever wish you clapped back at the haters?" Monique paused. "No. If I had shouted, they'd remember my anger, not my truth. But when I walked on stage and told my story, they had to listen." She smiled. "I didn't change to deserve love. I changed because I already had it." The audience erupted in applause. And outside the hall, as always, Thomas stood waiting, flowers in hand, smile on his face, just like he did after her very first speech. Because behind every strong woman, there isn't a man saving her. There's one quietly cheering while she saves the world. If you were moved by this story, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, powerful tales. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We love hearing from our global family.